Okay guys, so today I'm going to go ahead and review these two things right here from Rockler and their new molds that they come out. So let's check them out. All right, so I've been waiting for these to come for a couple of weeks now. They've been back ordered from Rockler, and it's a silicone casting mold, and this one's for pens and this one's for handle blanks. So I think I'm gonna check them out. I'm probably gonna use this one today, use this one later on, but I wanna see how easy the resin pops out of these things and how well they work keeping the resin out of the tubes for the pen. So let's open them up and check them out. Oh, looks like tape's already, yeah, there we go. So inside, you do have some instructions, and they're pretty simple. Instructions there. Let's see. That should be easy enough. So this has two separate pen blank areas in it, and silicone mold, so it's very flexible, very easy to maneuver, very thick. I mean, really, there's some girth to this thing. Weighs pretty good. Each one of these little silicone pieces here are made so that the pen tubes can go inside and you can mold around the pen tubes, which is kind of cool. I use cholla plants sometimes for pens, and so I may not be able to use it for that. Well, maybe I can drill it out ahead of time. I'll try some combination of wood and resin in these things, see if I can work that in. But let me get this out here. So anyway, I have two tubes here, and these tubes fit right on the end there, and these go in the mold. Oh, that one's pretty tight there. They fit together like that. And let's see, they have a thin side and a thick side. So that's kind of cool. So that way they can fit all types of pen blanks. And so we have one in there. It looks like there's enough room for two of them. So it looks like I make 4 pens. So I'm gonna make a slim line casting, and then a Cuban pen casting. These are a little thicker tubes here for this one. Now the nice thing about casting around the tubes is that you don't have to glue them in later on, and it should give it a better adhesion. Because sometimes you start spinning them and they break loose, you know, when you glue them in, you got to re-glue them. And that happens a lot more than you think, you know, it wins. We had a pen turning contest with the, boy, these are tough to get out. A pen turning club event, which we made a lot of pens for veterans. And it was amazing how many of them started slipping after you glued them together. So I'm sure the fact that we were speed going through them probably didn't help. Now these fit down pretty tight, and they shouldn't have any problem with them leaking through. Now it has measurements along the top here, which is kind of nice. It also has a measurement on the inside for 3/4 of an inch. So if you want to make a 3/4 of an inch pen blank, you can hit it right there, or you can go all the way at the top for 1 inch, and they have the same measurements right here on these little pieces. So that's a nice little touch. So somebody did a little thinking here. So we'll get these slid on in, and they seem to fit pretty tight. And now with a slim line, it goes all the way across. So let me see, so these will be easier because they're much shorter. And these are shorter and fatter for the Cuban pen. So I'm going to be using the wider cone on these pieces. Slide that on over. And yeah, that goes in there pretty easy actually. Let's see, probably can do it like this, I think. All right, so that was simple enough. I have my pen blanks in there, or my pen tubes in there. So I think it's ready to make some pen blanks. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and mix up some epoxy and put them in there. I think one of the pins I'm gonna use this metal flake. this gold metal flake or gold leaf copper flake. So I'm gonna throw some in here, and I'm gonna use this red, true red dye in the mixture here. So I'll go ahead and mix all that up. I won't show you that because you've seen that in other videos. If you want to see other pen videos, just click, let's see, up here to the left, and you'll be able to see that. But let me go ahead and mix up some epoxy. Okay, so I have my red mixed up here, and I mixed up a yellow. So I mixed up the red and a yellow color here. Now, I used this imitation gold leaf flakes here, and boy, that was a mess. Oh, there's one right there. Very light, very fluffy. They fly all over the place. They stick to everything. So I was able to clean it up off the mold using some blue tape, just blue tape, and sticking it down to get it where I didn't need it. But yeah, I think the only thing worse than that is working with glitter or something like that. But I got it in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour the red in there, and I'm gonna pour red and a mixture of yellow in this one here. And I have some extra ones here in case I have enough resin I can put over here. I always have extra. I got smaller molds here, little heart molds, and things so that if I ever have any extra resin, I can always pour it into something else too. So anyway, let's try this out and see how well they work. Guess I should have put some yellow on the bottom too. Live and learn. It's always an experiment. Whenever you're doing this stuff, it is truly an experiment. You never know what you're going to get, but it always seems to come out rather nice. Yeah, I see a lot of bubbles there. So let's see if I... So I do have some bubbles coming up from the gold leaf side. So we'll tamp that down around there. Make sure stuff gets in and around it. So there is the mold all full. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the pressure pot here, but I think I have enough here to fill up one of these, so we'll see if I do. And this one has a cholla branch in it, which I like the way that looks. Probably going to be pretty close to full. Time I get both of them in there. They should be pretty close to full anyway. And if you look for something to clean off your hands, rubbing alcohol is perfect. Oh, except unless you got a cut. Perfect thing to clean off your hands with. So let's see, that's the thinner one. So I always pour the thicker one first and pour that in the container that I'm going to use. And then the thinner one goes in the other container that I will pour into this container. Got a bit in there. And we got to stir for about a minute. So I'm going to make a mess here. Now, if you have sensitive skin, I would recommend that you wear gloves while you're doing all of this. I generally get the epoxy off rather quick with the rubbing alcohol, so I've never had an issue with it. But yeah, if you definitely don't want to get any alcohol or any other epoxy on your hands, the way to do that is just with some gloves, throwaway gloves. Surgical or food service gloves, whichever one you want. They will both work just fine. So it looks like I'm going to have some hearts in addition to this pen blank here. Now, one of the things I noticed that those pen, oh, look at all that bubbles that have popped up already since I poured that. Generally, I have a minute timer on, but because I'm making an emergency batch, I don't have that going right now, but I'll set a minute timer on my phone and then stir for about a minute. So the hearts I don't put in the pressure pot, obviously. They're just to take off the rest of the resin. And I also have a cup here that I pour extra resin into also every time I pour resin, so that I don't waste any. And this thing right here is nail polish company, or nail polish people use that for, I had some resin on there, for alcohol and for different things when they're going nails for cleaning off their brushes or cleaning off stuff. And yeah, alcohol tells you exactly where you have some open cuts at. But yeah, these work quite well. I think I got 6 of them on Amazon or something like that. But they're nice little liquid pumps, I think they call them. Now everything's gonna go into the pressure pot, and we'll see what it looks like when it gets out. Okay, so a bit of an error on my part. I was so excited to try this out that when I did go to put it in the pressure pot, I found that the pressure pot, I have a 2.5 gallon pressure pot, that this is too long to fit in there. So I even tried laying the pressure pot down and it still wouldn't fit in. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the torch here. I tried the heat gun, but the heat gun blows it around there, and that didn't work so well. So we'll just hit it with the torch real quick. And I don't wanna get too much on the silicone around it either. So that looks like it got all of it out. Nice thing about torch is real quick and fast and doesn't blow as much air as the heat gun does. So, all right, so we'll just, oops. And I'll come back in a little bit and see if there are any more. We just sort of touch it up every once in a while when I see some air bubbles. Hopefully this all settles and cures okay. We'll see. Okay, so it's the next day, and I pulled this from the pot this morning, the pressure pot, and it all seems to be good. Now you see that I had to put some weight down on here so it flooded out the resin over the edges here. Oops. Relatively cheap mold. It does flex out when you put stuff in it, so this has a little bit of a flexing going on right there. But the nice thing about these is that because they're open like that, you can put pieces of wood in there and things like that to insert into the resin, so that makes it kind of nice. But let's see how these came out too. These are the ones I'm interested in. Now, because they couldn't fit in my pressure pot, they've been sitting out all night. Now I did heat out some of the air bubbles. Let's see. Well, it seems to separate pretty decent. Let's see if we can pull it up with this. I think this is. There we go. All right. Okay, so they fall out really, really easy, actually, compared to other stuff. It looks like some of the resin got around it, not too much, but it looks pretty good. And pull these off here. That looks pretty good. Now, of course, it's 3/4 inches wide, and I put 1 inch above just in case anything slipped down. So it's a little oblong there, as you can see. Not a perfect square, but that's okay. We can work with that. And here's my aluminum. So it looks like some of the aluminum, the resin didn't get into, but that might be able to be turned away and maybe filled. I think I'll fill that before I start turning it. These things pop off real easy. The resin comes off them really, really easy. So that's kind of nice. And the resin comes off the silicone. Let's see. So yeah, the resin comes off pretty easy off the mold itself, so it's real easy to clean up the mold. And it pops off these end pieces very, very easy. So you end up with a little bit of a tunnel going into the piece there, but the piece is in there nice and solid. The piece is very clean. Inside these tubes, they look extremely clean. On these particular pin blanks here for this slim line, I think from now on I will just go 3/4 inch mark, and you can even see the 3/4 inch mark right there molded in. But overall, I mean, I got some air bubbles in it because, you know, it sat there, but they look good. These look good, and these look good. You're still going to have to trim it down. So basically, what the time that you saved over this is cutting it in half, drilling it out, and then gluing in the metal tubing. So you save that time. You still have to trim them down. So, you know, this still has a little bit of extra there that needs to be trimmed down to the tube, which is no big deal. But you do have to do that for these, same as you would have to do for that. So it is definitely a time saver. And I don't think you're gonna have to worry about the tubes coming out on these because the resin is completely around it. It's a nice solid adhesion to the entire tube. So, and these particular tubes, I'm going to be interested to see how they turn because I actually put these tubes in without sanding them just to see how well the adhesion is from the resin. So we'll see if they do pop out or not, but sanding it definitely would be a better choice before you put them in. But I wanted to see if they turned out or not. But I think no matter whether you sand them or not, it's a pretty nice tight bond around that particular brass tube there, so I don't think they're gonna come out. So I think this Rockler pin blank mold is pretty nice. It's a nice heavy duty mold. It looks like it's gonna stand up to the time. I'm definitely gonna cast some more here in the next few days just to make sure and check everything out on it. But I think that if you have a 2.5 gallon pressure pot, it's not going to fit for you. But I think if you have a 5 gallon pressure pot, this is like the perfect thing. It's nice and solid. This should last some time. So you know, I'm curious to see how long it stands up. Now, I'm going to use this one to make some handles, and I'll probably do that in a separate video, just show you how to make handles with this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this one out too. And you can get a pretty good size. You can get a 1x7 blank, so you could actually, gosh, you could almost make a pepper mill blank out of this thing. So that would be interesting, I think. Because yeah, it's an 1.5 inch wide, 1.5 inch deep, I think. Maybe a little bit more than that, yeah, because here's your 1.5 inch mark right there. So this has a center nub there that gets molded into the mold so that you know exactly where to drill out your handle. So that makes it nice. And like I said, this stuff here, the resin slipped by a little bit of this, but it's not that much resin that you lost. So I don't think that I don't know. Maybe if you just had one thing in there, it might leak out. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like it would. But yeah, the two different cones are nice. The two different size cones are nice because they fit all the pins. So overall, I think it's worth the money. I think it's a good investment. Like I said, I ordered it as soon as I saw them available. They were actually cheaper than they are on other sites. Other sites have something similar to this, and it was actually cheaper. So I wanted to try it out, and I think it works rather nice. So it gives you some really nice pin blanks to work with. So that's my review. I think it's worth it. I think that you know, whether you're doing handles or the pins, that these molds will work for you quite well. They're not that expensive. So I'll have a price post down here. I don't know it off the top of my head, but like I said, they were cheap in other places. They're not as cheap as these, but they do offer you a little bit more and a little bit of flexibility in the fact that you can change the length on all these. So that makes it nice. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that and it was helpful. And please do like and subscribe, and hope you'll be around for the next video. Thanks for watching this one.